Through the vastness of space, humanity's first interstellar fleet drifted silently, its weathered hulls bearing the scars of a century's journey. The United Earth Defense Force had never claimed to possess the most advanced ships in the galaxy. Their vessels were built with sturdy steel, reliable fusion drives, and time-tested technology that had served Earth well since the early days of space exploration. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the helm of the flagship Perseverance, her calloused hands resting on the worn leather of her command chair. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, their movements speaking of years spent mastering their craft. The fleet's mission was simple: establish first contact with the Arcturus Confederation, a newly discovered alien civilization that had been broadcasting signals across the stars. What the humans didn't expect was the barely concealed amusement in the alien representatives' eyes when they first laid eyes on Earth's ships. The Arcturians, with their crystalline vessels and quantum drives, saw themselves as vastly superior. Their delegate, High Commander Zix, didn't even try to hide his condescension during the initial transmission. Fascinating, he had said, mandibles clicking in what Sarah later learned was their equivalent of a smirk. Your vessels are quite traditional. We hadn't realized we were communicating with a developing civilization. Perhaps we should have sent our archaeological team instead of our diplomatic corps. The bridge crew exchanged knowing looks, years of human ingenuity and determination reflected in their eyes. What the Arcturians didn't understand was that Earth's fleet wasn't ancient. It was purpose-built. Every rivet, every panel, every system was the result of careful engineering and hard-won experience. The humans had chosen this design not because they couldn't build something flashier, but because they knew what worked. As if to prove their point, long-range sensors began picking up unusual readings from the edge of the system. The Arcturians' sophisticated sensors seemed to be malfunctioning, their quantum-based systems disrupted by something their advanced technology couldn't quite grasp. But the primitive analog backup systems on the human ships were working perfectly. High Commander, Sarah said, allowing herself a small smile, I believe we're picking up something you might want to see. Our traditional equipment is detecting a spatial anomaly heading this way. Would you like us to share our readings? The Arcturian's crystal ships suddenly seemed less impressive as its sensors continued to fail, its crew struggling to understand what was happening. Meanwhile, the human fleet moved with practiced precision, their obsolete ships forming a defensive pattern that had been perfected through countless drills and simulations. As the anomaly grew larger, Sarah could see the dawning realization in the alien commander's eyes. Sometimes, the old ways weren't just tradition, they were survival. The humans hadn't built their fleet to impress anyone. They'd built it to last, to endure, to protect. And now, as an unknown threat approached and the Arcturians' advanced technology proved useless, they were about to learn exactly why humanity had chosen to trust in steel, sweat, and determination rather than flashy quantum crystals and artificial gravity. The massive shadow emerging from the anomaly loomed ever closer, and for the first time since their meeting, High Commander Zix looked at the human fleet with something other than amusement. The question now wasn't whether humanity's technology was advanced enough. It was whether their experience, their preparation, and their unwavering resolve would be enough to face whatever was coming through that spatial tier. And Sarah Chen, along with every other human in the fleet, was ready to show the galaxy exactly what their ancient ships could do. The anomaly pulsed with an otherworldly energy, casting an eerie purple glow across both fleets. Sarah's tactical officer, Lieutenant David Chen, no relation, was already running calculations through their outdated ballistic computers. While the Arcturians' quantum targeting system struggled with the interference, the human ship's analog rangefinders and mechanical backup systems continued functioning flawlessly. All ships, maintain formation, Sarah commanded, her voice steady despite the tension. This is what we trained for. Years of drills and simulations had prepared them for situations exactly like this. When technology failed, human intuition and experience had to fill the gap. The fleet's response was immediate and precise, each ship adjusting its position with practiced efficiency. The Arcturian vessels, in contrast, seemed to drift almost aimlessly, their sophisticated automated systems confused by the anomaly's effect on their sensors. High Commander Zix's voice crackled over the comm, his earlier condescension replaced by poorly concealed concern. Captain Chen, our systems are experiencing some difficulties. Perhaps we could temporarily coordinate our efforts. Sarah allowed herself a small nod. Of course, Commander. We'd be happy to assist. Lieutenant Chen, please share our sensor data with the Arcturian fleet. She didn't mention that their primitive technology was working perfectly fine. Some lessons were better learned through experience than explanation. The shadow within the anomaly began to take shape, revealing what appeared to be a massive vessel unlike anything either fleet had encountered before. Its surface seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making it difficult to determine its exact size or configuration. But the human fleet's thermal imaging systems, based on century-old infrared technology, painted a clear picture of its heat signature. Multiple drive signatures detected, David reported, his fingers dancing across his console. The pattern doesn't match anything in our database, but the energy output, it's massive, Captain. Whatever this thing is, it's big enough to swallow half our fleet. The Arcturians' crystal ships had begun to cluster closer to the human fleet, their earlier disdain forgotten in the face of this unknown threat. Sarah couldn't help but notice how their supposedly advanced vessels now seemed brittle and delicate compared to the sturdy hulls of Earth's ships. Captain, her communications officer called out, "We're picking up a signal from the anomaly. It's being broadcast on multiple frequencies, including some we haven't seen before, but our old radio receivers are picking it up clearly." A deep, resonating tone filled the bridge, followed by words that seemed to bypass their universal translators entirely, speaking directly to something primal in their minds. "You shelter the unworthy," the voice declared. "The crystal-born have no place here. Stand aside, children of Earth, or share their fate." Sarah's hands tightened on her chair as she processed those words. The entity, whatever it was, had specifically targeted the Arcturians while acknowledging humanity as something different. The implications were troubling, but there would be time to analyze them later. Right now, she had a decision to make. Looking at her crew, Sarah saw determination in their eyes. They knew what she would choose, what any human would choose. Their ancient fleet might not sparkle like crystal or bend space with quantum magic, but it carried something far more valuable, the unwavering human spirit that had carried their species from Earth's surface to the stars. The unknown vessel continued its approach, its massive form now clearly visible against the backdrop of stars. Whatever was coming, humanity would face it as they had faced every challenge in their history, with courage, ingenuity, and their own unique blend of tradition and innovation. "We do not shelter the unworthy." Sarah's voice rang clear across all channels, her words carrying the weight of humanity's resolve. "We stand with those who seek peaceful contact, regardless of their technology or origins. This is not negotiable." The bridge crew straightened in their seats, each one ready for what might come next. The massive vessel's response was immediate and devastating. A wave of energy pulsed outward, completely disabling the Arcturians' quantum systems. Their crystal ships hung dead in space, their elegant forms now nothing more than beautiful sculptures against the starfield. But the human fleet's systems, protected by layers of physical shielding and backup circuits, remained operational. "All ships, defensive pattern Delta," Sarah commanded. The Earth vessels moved with precision, positioning themselves between the disabled Arcturian ships and the threat. Their formation wasn't just for show. It was the result of centuries of naval tactics, adapted for space warfare by generations of human strategists. The unknown vessel launched what appeared to be probing attacks, testing their defenses. Each blast was met with coordinated movements from the human fleet, their primitive point defense systems tracking and responding to threats with mechanical reliability. While not as flashy as quantum shields, the layered armor of Earth's ships absorbed or deflected the impacts effectively. "Captain," David called out, "I'm detecting energy buildups across their hull. Whatever they're planning, it's big." His hands flew across his console, coordinating with other ships to track the threat. The human fleet's distributed sensor network, designed to function even under heavy electronic warfare, painted a clear picture of the impending attack. High Commander Zix's voice crackled through the emergency backup channel. A simple radio frequency the humans had insisted they install. Captain Chen, we were wrong about your people. Our advanced systems are useless, but your fleet still stands. Please, help us evacuate if you can. Sarah exchanged glances with her crew. The evacuation would make their ships more vulnerable, reducing their mobility and combat effectiveness. But there was never really any question about what they would do. Begin emergency evacuation procedures, she ordered. All ships, prepare to receive Arcturian crews. The hostile vessel seemed to pulse with dark energy as it watched the human ships extend docking tubes to the crystal vessels. You choose to share their fate. The entity's voice resonated through their minds again. Then you will witness true power. The energy readings from the vessel spiked dramatically. But Sarah had one more card to play. While the evacuation continued, she had ordered every ship in the fleet to power up a system that didn't appear on any official specification. Something that looked like nothing more than part of their outdated fusion drive design. Something the humans had been developing in secret since they first detected anomalous signals from this region of space. All ships, she said, her voice steady as the enemy vessel's energy readings reached critical levels, prepare to activate Protocol Omega. Let's show them why humanity never relied on just one type of technology. Around the fleet, hidden panels began to slide open, revealing systems that were anything but primitive. The enemy vessel's attack was imminent, its hull now blazing with contained energy. But as Sarah gave the order to activate their hidden weapons, she knew that the next few moments would reveal whether humanity's greatest gamble would pay off, and whether their strategy of appearing less advanced than they truly were had been worth the years of mockery and condescension. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance as ancient wisdom and cutting-edge innovation prepared to face an unknown force that had gravely underestimated humanity's true capabilities. Just as Protocol Omega began powering up across the fleet, the enemy vessel did something unexpected. Instead of launching its attack, it split apart like a blooming flower, revealing a familiar crystalline architecture within. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the dark exterior peeled away, exposing what was unmistakably Arcturian technology, but far more advanced than anything their current allies possessed. You've exceeded expectations, humans. A new voice transmitted, different from the first, but carrying the same mental weight. Though perhaps we should have known better, given your species' reputation for unconventional solutions. The vessel's transformation continued, its true form resembling a massive version of the Arcturian ships, but with technology that made the current crystal fleet look like children's toys. High Commander Zix, now standing on Perseverance's bridge, stumbled backward in recognition. The predecessors, he whispered, mandibles clicking rapidly in what Sarah now recognized as agitation. They're supposed to be a myth, the original architects who abandoned our civilization millennia ago. The human fleet maintained their defensive formation, Protocol Omega still humming at ready status. Sarah's mind raced through the implications. The stories that gathered about the Arcturus Confederation had mentioned ancient legends of godlike ancestors who had vanished without explanation, but nothing had suggested they were still active, still watching. Your civilization chose aesthetic beauty over practical functionality, the predecessor vessel transmitted. You forgot the lessons we left behind, becoming obsessed with appearance rather than substance. But humans, there was something like approval in the alien voice. Humans understand the value of redundancy, of maintaining old systems alongside new innovations. They grasp what you forgot, that true advancement comes from building upon the past, not discarding it. Sarah's tactical display suddenly lit up with new signatures, dozens of predecessor vessels decloaking around them, each one having watched the encounter unfold. The human fleet's primitive sensors had detected subtle signs of their presence, which was precisely why Protocol Omega had been developed. The humans hadn't just been preparing for one unknown threat. They'd been ready for many. However, the predecessor continued, its tone darkening. We must know if this wisdom is genuine or merely circumstantial. Your hidden weapons, Captain Chen, Protocol Omega. They're not just defensive measures, are they? The question hung in space like a challenge. Sarah felt the weight of every eye on the bridge, human and Arcturian alike. The next few moments would determine not just the fate of their fleets, but potentially the course of human-alien relations for generations to come. Protocol Omega's true nature was one of humanity's most closely guarded secrets, and now they had to decide whether to reveal it to not one, but two advanced alien civilizations. The predecessor vessel moved closer, its crystalline structure refracting starlight in impossible patterns. Show us humans. Show us what you've been hiding beneath those steel plates and analog systems. Prove that your species truly understands the balance between progress and preservation. Sarah's hand hovered over the final activation sequence for Protocol Omega. The system was far more than just a weapon. It represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, carefully disguised as outdated technology. But revealing it would change everything, and there would be no going back. Sarah took a deep breath and initiated Protocol Omega's final sequence. Across the human fleet, those seemingly outdated fusion drives began to pulse with a familiar crystalline energy. But unlike the Arcturian technology, this was something entirely different. Each human ship shimmered as layers of metamaterials transformed, revealing that their hulls weren't just steel, but rather a hybrid technology that merged traditional materials with something that even the predecessors recognized. Impossible, one of the Arcturian officers whispered. Those patterns, they're older than our oldest records. The human ships now gleamed with symbols and technological patterns that predated even the predecessors themselves. We found them on Mars, Sarah explained, her voice carrying across all channels. Buried deep beneath the surface, the remnants of a civilization that visited our solar system long before humanity arose. While we developed our own technology, we also studied these artifacts, learning to combine them with our engineering. We didn't abandon our traditional technology because we knew that relying on a single advanced system, no matter how powerful, was asking for failure. The predecessor vessels moved in closer, their sensors clearly scanning the activated Protocol Omega systems. The ancients, their leader transmitted a note of awe in the usually commanding voice. You've managed to recreate their technology while keeping your own. This is unprecedented. But Sarah wasn't finished. With another command, the human fleet's hybrid systems synchronized, creating a field that encompassed both their ships and the disabled Arcturian vessels. The crystalline ships gradually powered back up, their quantum systems adapting to work in harmony with the human technology. We never intended to keep this secret forever, Sarah continued. We were waiting for the right moment, for allies who could understand that true strength lies not in having the most advanced technology, but in knowing how to blend the old with the new. Every primitive system on our ships serves a purpose, working in concert with technology that spans 3 different civilizations. The predecessors' response was unexpected. Their massive vessels began to power down, their threatening posture dissolving. We came to test the Arcturians, their leader explained, to see if they had learned from their mistakes. Instead, we found humanity, a species that not only discovered the ancients' legacy but understood its true meaning better than we ever did. High Commander Zix stepped forward, his earlier condescension replaced with genuine respect. We have much to learn from Earth, he admitted. Perhaps it's time for the Arcturus Confederation to remember that progress doesn't always mean discarding the past. But as the tension seemed to fade, Sarah's tactical officer suddenly straightened in his chair. Captain, he called out urgently, the ancient tech is picking up something big. These predecessors, they're not alone out here. The space around them began to ripple as if reality itself was being pulled aside like a curtain. Through the distortion, something began to emerge, something that made both the human fleet's ancient tech and the predecessors' advanced systems seem like simple toys in comparison. Sarah realized that their encounter with the predecessors hadn't been the true test. It had just been preparation for what was coming next. As she looked at her crew, at their allies both old and new, she knew that whatever emerged from that distortion would face not just one civilization's technology, but the combined wisdom and innovation of 3 species who had finally learned to work together. The real challenge was just beginning, and humanity was ready to prove once again that their greatest strength wasn't in their technology, whether ancient or modern, but in their ability to adapt, to learn, and to unite diverse systems and peoples toward a common goal. The massive shape that emerged from the distortion wasn't a ship at all. It was a station, ancient beyond imagining, its surface covered in markings that matched those now visible on the human vessels. As it fully materialized, thousands of smaller objects detached from its surface, each one a drone that formed a vast, glittering network around the assembled fleets. The Watchers returned. A new voice echoed, not just in their minds, but seemingly through space itself. "We have observed your convergence, your choices, your understanding." The drones moved in perfect synchronization, creating patterns that somehow made sense despite their complexity. Humanity has achieved what we hoped, bridging the gap between stages of evolution without losing their core wisdom. The predecessor vessels arranged themselves in a defensive formation, but the ancient station made no aggressive moves. Instead, it extended what appeared to be an invitation, a stream of data that contained coordinates and specifications for a new type of propulsion system, one that would allow for travel between galaxies. "The galaxy is larger than you know," the ancient voice continued, "and there are others out there who have achieved similar understanding. You are ready to join them." The station's presence seemed to encompass them all, humans, Arcturians, and predecessors alike. "But first, you must truly unite your knowledge." Sarah looked at her crew, then at High Commander Zix and the predecessor leaders. In that moment, she understood why humanity's approach to technology had been so important. They hadn't just preserved older systems out of caution. They'd maintained a connection to their roots while reaching for the stars. Over the next few hours, as the three civilizations began sharing their technological insights, something remarkable happened. The human fleet's hybrid systems, the Arcturians' quantum technology, and the predecessors' advanced capabilities started working in harmony, creating something entirely new. It wasn't just a combination of their technologies. It was an evolution of understanding that none of them could have achieved alone. "This is what we've waited for," the ancient voice declared. "Not just technological advancement, but the wisdom to use it properly. To remember where you came from while embracing where you're going." The station began to pulse with energy, creating a stable wormhole that would lead to new regions of space never before explored by any of their civilizations. As the three fleets prepared for their first joint mission through the wormhole, Sarah couldn't help but smile at how far they'd come. What had started as a potential conflict had transformed into perhaps the greatest adventure humanity had ever undertaken. The Arcturians had learned that true advancement meant building upon the past rather than replacing it, while the predecessors had discovered that their role as teachers wasn't finished. It had just changed. Ready to make history? Sarah asked her crew, knowing the answer before they even nodded. Their ancient fleet, now gleaming with the combined technology of three civilizations, would lead the way into a new era of exploration and cooperation. The last thing Sarah saw before their ships entered the wormhole was the ancient station beginning to fade, its purpose fulfilled. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in having the most advanced technology, but in understanding how to bridge the gap between the old and the new, between different civilizations and ways of thinking. As they emerged into unknown space, ready to meet whatever challenges awaited them, Sarah knew that they carried with them not just the combined technology of three civilizations, but also the most important lesson of all, that true progress comes not from abandoning the past, but from building upon it with wisdom, understanding, and respect for all that came before. The stars ahead were new, but the principles that had brought them here were as old as humanity itself, and that, perhaps, was the greatest victory of all.